Since day one of Ron Paul's 2008 campaign, the establishment media has done everything it could to convince you that Ron Paul is an extremist, a kook, a fringe candidate that can't possibly win and absolutely should not be taken seriously. Despite their attempts to ignore or ridicule him into irrelevance in 2008, Ron Paul still raised well over $30 million and even trounced top-tier media darling Rudy Giuliani in Iowa. Now, 4 years later, Ron Paul is poised to beat all contenders in Iowa. What exactly does this mean? Quite simply, it means that the establishment is losing its ability to manipulate the public into supporting its candidates. It means people have realized that there is no substantive difference between the establishment left and the establishment right. It might even mean that people have grown tired of hearing that their preferred candidate can't win, so they better vote based on party and ignore their own principles. This game is changing, and all the proof you need can be seen in the failed attempts to stop the only anti-establishment candidate running under a major party label in 2012. Now, it goes without saying that the establishment is obviously going to continue trying to make sure that only its two horses will compete in the final race for the presidency. That way, if Obama wins, nothing that's important to the establishment will change. If Romney or Newt Gingrich wins, nothing that is important to the establishment will change. In short, if the people elect another establishment-endorsed candidate, you can rest assured that the Federal Reserve System will not be addressed. Our financially unsustainable and anti-American foreign policy will not be addressed. The bailouts and crony capitalism will not be addressed. The destruction of our civil liberties will not be addressed. And the eventual destruction of our currency and the real threat that poses to our national security will not be addressed. So as you watch the next few minutes of video, and as you see with your own eyes how the establishment is doing whatever it can to manipulate you into making the right choice, I want you to keep just one thing in mind. This election isn't about beating Barack Obama. It's about beating the people who Barack Obama serves. This election isn't about beating Mitt Romney or Newt Gingrich. It's about beating the people that either of those men will serve. If you're tired of being manipulated, and if you're tired of watching an overgrown and unaccountable system squander away our wealth, our rights, and our good name, then take a good long look at the one candidate that both the establishment left and the establishment right has attacked nonstop for the past 4 years.
But how much are the Iowa caucuses really like the rest of how we vote in America? How democratic is the Iowa system?
If Ron Paul wins, some Republicans are going to say, who cares about Iowa?
Do you think that it is American in the modern era that Iowa gets to go first?
And I think we might actually be seeing something bigger in the works here, the demise of Iowa.
The hard truth here is that Ron Paul winning Iowa itself would not matter very much.
If Ron Paul wins here, what then?
Well, the Ron Paul people are not going to like my saying this, but to a certain degree it will discredit the Iowa caucuses.
But I wonder if there is an extent to which the organizational principle of Iowa does make it not only less democratic, less representational, but a little bit more corrupt. I mean,
if Ron Paul wins, then what?
Then Iowa
go to New Hampshire and start from scratch.
Iowa doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Iowa doesn't matter.
Start from scratch in New Hampshire.
Totally agree with that.
It would make the caucuses mostly irrelevant, if not entirely irrelevant, if Paul wins.
That result would also mean roughly nothing to the rest of the presidential race.
He doesn't like Ron Paul, and he's not going to like Iowa if they have the bad judgment to vote for this guy.
All this noise is going to come to an end relatively soon. Maybe Ron Paul wins Iowa, but who cares? Maybe Ron Paul wins Iowa, but who cares?
Yeah, I'm going to say that House Democrats are the winner this week.
Iowa is not only a weird system for picking somebody, they are a non-representational system in this.
I think Iowa may lose its power politically if they do that this time.
what does it say about Iowa? So if I was chairman of the Iowa Republican Party, I'd be a little concerned here that the state's credibility is being undercut.
If Iowa took him seriously and Iowans took him seriously, maybe we shouldn't take Iowa all that seriously.
Let's not even talk about what happens in Iowa. Let's not even talk about what happens in Iowa. If Ron Paul wins Iowa, we just take it out.
After months of volatility, we're getting a hint of stability in the Iowa caucus polling. For the third straight week, we had the same two men on top of the polls. Mitt Romney, barely ahead of Ron Paul. The latest numbers, 23% for Romney, 22% for Paul. And also, as we've seen for quite a while, Mitt Romney does much better among Republicans, people who are part of the GOP and will take part in the caucus. He leads Ron Paul by 11 points among that group. Ron Paul leads among independents and Democrats and others who will take part in this caucus. He leads by 23 points. As you can see on the table, support for or favorable opinions of Ron Paul and Newt Gingrich much lower than the other candidates. Also worth noting that about 1 out of 4 Iowa caucus goers have very negative feelings about Newt Gingrich and Ron Paul. But where Mitt Romney is gaining his strength is from the perception that he is the strongest general election candidate. 2 weeks ago, 25% of Iowa caucus goers had that perception. It went to 35% this last week. Now it's at 37%. And when you look at who are the weakest candidates, well, Ron Paul and Michelle Bachmann are perceived to be the weakest general election candidates against Barack Obama. Combine those two questions and take a look at this, the net number, the perceived electability factor. Mitt Romney is plus 32. 37% say he's the strongest candidate. Only 5% say he's the weakest. Only a couple of other candidates end up in positive figures there. So Mitt Romney really gaining from the sense that if the first order of business is to beat Barack Obama, he is the most likely to do it.